Let's talk about this single number right here, 27 centimeters. That's almost the exact size of a standard basketball.
Okay, so let's dive into this. For 800 years, this creature had a massive cultural footprint. We're talking about multiple, completely independent civilizations, separated by vast oceans and centuries of time.
But, escape isn't always possible. When researchers examine the bodies of practically every adult sperm whale out there, they find forensic evidence of violent encounters down in the dark. We're talking massive, 15-centimeter circular scars.
But here is the crazy part. Even after confirming it's real 150 years ago, and finally getting it on video, look at what we still don't know. Picture this. It's September 2004. A research team led by Japanese marine biologist Tsunemi Kubodera drops a camera attached to a baited line 900 meters down into the pitch-black North Pacific.
Now, knowing they're down there fighting whales is one thing, but actually capturing footage of it? That required immense ingenuity. In 2004, Japanese researchers Kubodera and Mori made this brilliant, genuinely elegant logical inference to overcome the extreme depths of the ocean.
So, case closed, right? We found it. Well, not quite. By plotting confirmed sightings, we know for sure the giant squid has a genuinely global distribution across deep ocean basins. But despite that, it remains one of our planet's greatest biological enigmas. And that is the maximum documented diameter of a giant squid's eye.
All describing the exact same terrifying animal. You got ancient Norse sailors carving these wooden depictions of a huge tentacled beast wrapping around their ships. You've got Herman Melville writing about the great squid in Moby-Dick. The stories were remarkably consistent.
And those scars point to encounters with squids way larger than any dead specimen we've ever found. To understand these scars, we really have to look at the giant squid's arsenal. This is literally mechanically terrifying biological weaponry. We're talking about a torpedo-shaped mantle that can reach up to 7 meters, 2 specialized feeding tentacles that extend 15 meters or more.
The reproductive behavior? Never been observed. The total global population? Literally completely unknown. Estimates are all over the map. What they pulled up was absolutely wild. A 26-foot, living, breathing giant squid. And what's really fascinating here is the sheer visceral reality of it. When the squid finally detached from the camera, it left one of its massive feeding tentacles stuck on the hook.
Instead of just dropping cameras randomly into the vastness of the water, they looked at the data and realized that sperm whales consistently terminated their foraging dives at a very specific depth.
There are glaring gaps in our knowledge, beautifully summarized by these 3 massive remaining mysteries. First, we have a complete absence of information regarding their reproductive behavior. It has never been directly observed, ever. Second, there's a profound uncertainty about their total population size, mostly because we still only have a handful of footage sequences and dead specimens to rely on. The crystalline lens inside that eye alone is bigger than a human fist.
And yet, despite 800 years of documented maritime history, the scientific community collectively looked at these accounts and just said, absolutely not.
And on the expanded club-shaped ends of those tentacles, the most heavily toothed suckers on the animal. Each sucker is rimmed with sharp, serrated, tooth-like projections made of chitin, which is the exact same hard material as a bird's beak. When these wrap around a smooth surface, like a whale's skin, those serrated chitin rings act quite literally like circular saw blades, creating this incredibly precise cutting geometry.
And as those massive 15-centimeter scars prove, their true maximum size remains a total mystery. For 4 straight hours after being severed from the body, that tentacle was still moving, its suckers actively gripping and reacting. In that one single undeniable event, science finally had to admit that the legendary Kraken was absolutely real.
So they deployed a camera system and a baited line exactly there, straight down into 900 meters of absolute blackness. And as they watched from the surface, finally, a giant squid entered the frame and wrapped its massive tentacles right around the bait.
And third, the terrifying question of maximum size. Remember those 15-centimeter scars on the sperm whales? Yeah, those scars strongly suggest there are individual squids down there significantly larger than any specimen we have ever collected. There are true giants still swimming around undiscovered.
What we do know for certain, however, are the real threats they face, primarily incidental capture in bottom fishing and deep water trawling gear. You might occasionally see sensational claims online that they're on the absolute brink of extinction, but currently we just lack the species-specific data to actually support that claim. Still, their vulnerability to commercial fishing practices is undeniably a very real concern for deep-sea ecology as a whole. And because of that extreme food-scarce environment,
They utilize a brilliant survival strategy: extreme energy conservation. Unlike fast open water predators like sharks, blobfish don't need powerful muscles. They've evolved these soft bodies and low-density tissues that allow them to just effortlessly hover over the sediment, snacking on crustaceans and marine snow. It's an incredibly efficient lifestyle, perfectly suited for a habitat where dragging around a heavy, dense skeleton would just be a massive energetic burden.
We do have some pretty tantalizing clues from related species, though. For instance, some cycroluded fishes are actually known to guard their eggs, which shows this incredible, dedicated parental care in such a harsh environment. It's a fantastic detail. But we have to be careful here. Since that's an observation at the family level, we shouldn't just automatically assume this egg-guarding behavior applies to every single blobfish species until we get that direct evidence.
Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between these two environments. Up on the surface, we've got warmth, bright light, and low pressure. But the deep ocean? It's freezing, it's pitch black, and the pressure is phenomenally, crushingly high. A really common misconception is that these fish are constantly fighting against being crushed, but that's simply not true. Deep-sea organisms are built for this environment. The pressure doesn't crush them, it actually holds them together.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that evolution optimizes for survival and reproduction. It does not care one bit about human beauty standards. Biology favors traits that help an organism survive extreme pressure, freezing temperatures, and total darkness. What seems ugly or weird to us surface dwellers is actually a masterpiece of natural engineering. In its own element, the blobfish is an absolute marvel of deep-sea adaptation.
The exact scientific term for this horrific transformation is barotrauma. It basically means severe physical damage caused by a rapid change in environmental pressure. This means the famous meme isn't a natural state at all. We aren't looking at a goofy, inherently ugly fish. We're actually looking at a deceased animal suffering catastrophic tissue damage simply because it was violently pulled into an alien atmosphere. Now, despite everything we do know about their anatomy, direct observations of living deep-sea species in their actual natural habitat remain incredibly limited. Researchers studying these extreme deep water environments still face some major uncertainties. We still don't fully understand their specific diet, their reproduction habits, or their overall life history. There is just so much down there that we simply haven't been able to observe yet. This timeline lays out exactly how this massive cultural misunderstanding happened. In a matter of just days, a deep-sea trawling expedition pulled up a specimen. Over the next few weeks, scientific photography took place on the surface, capturing the animal in its heavily distorted post-barotrauma state. And then, over years, that single image just exploded online. An obscure scientific specimen completely lost its biological context and became this global internet icon of ugliness. Okay, this brings us to its absolute most mind-blowing feature, and the epic invisible war that forced it to evolve this way. Think about a normal human eye. It's about 2.4 centimeters across. A giant squid's eye? We have measured them at a staggering 27 centimeters in diameter. That is exactly the size of a standard basketball. The lens alone is the size of an orange. It is, officially, the largest eye of any animal ever recorded in the history of life on Earth. These fights usually come down to pure size and strength, and large sperm whales win most of the time. But the physical evidence left behind tells a crazy story. We've found overlapping circular scar patterns on whales measuring 15 centimeters across. Based on the math of sucker ring sizes, those scars point to uncaptured squids with tentacles measuring 25 to 30 meters long. That completely blows our confirmed specimen records out of the water. But why on earth does an invertebrate need a basketball-sized eye? It all comes down to the physics of light. Because a lens's light-gathering capability scales as the square of its radius, this massive eye pulls in 140 times more light per unit time than yours does. Down in the near-total darkness of the deep ocean, this lets the squid detect impossibly faint light sources that smaller eyes literally wouldn't even register.